Yesterday I got a call from my son's school. He's 14 and he's going to a school down in Victoria. That's where my wife and other kids live, and I'm up here in Queensland. Yeah, two and two together, we're separated. And I got a call from his head of department telling me that he's going to be suspended. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, so please do share, why has he been suspended? And apparently a teacher came up to him in class and he replied to her approach with, "What the fuck do you want?" And there was also something else as well, but as you can imagine, that's probably enough to be the tipping point. And while I'm talking to this person on the phone about his suspension and what my son has been doing at school, he had a detention, I think, earlier in the week, and they only get a detention after doing 5 things that are considered discrepancies. I don't think I was having the response inside that they were probably hoping for. I even spoke to him after I'd spoken to her and said to him, I can't even see the point of getting suspended, that's like, wow, cool, I get a day off. And he said, I think it's, because you've got to face the fact that parents are going to get angry. And I said, well, sorry, then I'm not a good parent, I'm not angry. And to be honest, inside I felt a sense of joy. 1, because I love talking to my boy, and 2, I'm pretty biased. I think he's freaking awesome. I think he's got a beautiful heart. He's very talented. He's got a lot of initiative. He's got great people skills. And I can't fault the kid. What I heard him doing that is someone that was hurt and angry. His parents are separated. His dad's moved interstate. His dad's, from his perspective, he probably feels I've abandoned him. Fair enough, he's going to feel angry and hurt. He's a softie like I was at that age. Crap, to be honest, I think I'm actually more of a softie than I was back then. But people will see it as teenage rebellion, and it needs to be disciplined, contained, punished, spoken to that the behaviour is inappropriate. Well, personally, I think I don't agree with that. What he was doing was expressing how he's feeling. And if we can stop and not just look at the outward expression and look at the why, how can we not have compassion? If someone is rude, arrogant, angry, rebellious, belligerent, whatever you want to call it, and it's because they're emotionally in pain, how can we not have compassion for that? Why do we still have to keep going on about you shouldn't be doing this, you need to do this, you need to get your act together? What we don't realise is 2 things. 1 is we're actually getting triggered by their attitude. It's negative energy they're projecting towards us. And because we don't process that kind of emotion very well ourselves, we're wanting to deflect it back onto them and control the situation, control them. And that's our issue, that's our problem, not theirs. I've raised 13 children, and I would welcome anyone to judge me based upon the outcome of how those children are today. Some of them hate me, some of them love me, and there's everything in between. And rightly so. Some of them I was a shit parent to, and I made really bad mistakes. I do believe I took ownership of that and always reflected and learnt and grown. And so it's the younger ones that don't cop as much crap as the older ones. I feel for my first daughter. She's 22. And some of the stuff she copped from me, my goodness, what an arsehole I was to her. And she's a sweet, lovely little thing, even though she's 22. Sorry, sweetie. But we need to take a moment ourselves, pause, recognise our own trigger and the way we feel emotionally and we're internally reacting, because that's not a good place to communicate with a child, is when we're emotionally reactive, especially if we feel hurt or angry. We need to let that pass before we stop and go, what's really going on here? And the other side is we're teaching them not to express their emotions. And we've heard plenty of things around this, but it takes a parent that's really secure within themselves to stay at peace in that moment and go, I hear your heart. Yeah, I see what you're doing, and yeah, you probably shouldn't do that. It's not appropriate behavior. But I feel you, man. How can I be present in your pain? How can I support you through that journey? How can I come alongside you and be a bit of a coach to help you navigate processing that pain? Because it's not a bad thing. It's part of life. When children go through puberty and become teenagers, it's paramount that they have the freedom to express how they feel. Some of my kids, I notice they're sad or they're unhappy or they're angry. And I go, hey, what's going on? You okay? I'm fine. Oh, you seem pretty sad. Everything okay? Yep, it's fine. They don't feel safe and comfortable expressing how they feel because of the environment that I have created, the relationship I have created. Because in the past, I would have been reactive. I would have shown anger. I would have made them feel worse than they already felt because of my own baggage, crap, and trauma that was triggered, and then I projected that onto them. Now, if I just always feel guilt and bad and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to suppress. No. I need to recognize that, and I need to find ways to process my emotions in a healthy way and develop emotional maturity, emotional intelligence. What right do I have to expect my child to show emotional responsibility when me as an adult, I can't do that? And do you know one thing I've noticed about teenagers? They have a massive bullshit radar. They can see straight through our crap. And I think a lot of the times my children don't want to express how they feel because they think I'm full of crap. I don't even have a good communication around expressing how I feel. So why would they talk to someone that doesn't understand the language, that's not going to understand them? Why are they going to take the risk of being vulnerable and sharing the sensitivity and fragility of their heart, believing there's a good chance it's not going to go well? I know from firsthand experience how hard it is to come to that place where when a child is having a tantrum, doesn't matter what age it is, 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever it is, to come to that place where I stay at peace and rest, I'm just present, and I just ask questions that allow them to fully express that emotion. And even just end with, thanks for sharing that. That took a lot of courage. Thank you. I'm just always in awe about how beautiful you are. And when that teacher was talking to me on the phone yesterday about my son's rebellion or foul language, I said to her, can I have a chat with him? And she said, yep, that's cool. I'll have to talk to you again afterwards, because she needed permission from me so she could send him home. When I was talking to him on the phone, I just felt love for the guy because he's beautiful. And as parents, we need to step up, own our crap, not deflect it onto our children, not project it onto our children, not dump it on our children. And if by chance we do, we need to own that. And we need to apologize, because I've had times where I've disciplined my children and then I get angry. And I have this scale thing that I believe. Typically, if we've got a hierarchy system, we see the child here and the parent is here. Now, when a parent is disciplining a child and then slips into anger, it's now here. because the parents cross the line. The disciplinary role is a training role. It's a coaching role. Mentor, mentee, respect, honour, those sorts of things. But when you cross that line of getting angry, I believe it's down here. And for me, my belief always was, doesn't mean I always did this. And even when I tried, I probably fell short. But to restore the relationship, to take the high road and come back and go, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have spoken like that. And never end with, but you shouldn't have, or anything like this. No, you don't put it back on the child. It's not about discipline and training anymore. It's about restoring the relationship and bringing it back to really what it is we're equal human beings on a journey of exploring life and processing how we feel about life together. It's really hard for parents to recognize the emotional sensitivity of children. And when they go through puberty, they're faultless, I believe, because they're going through emotional turmoil, estrogen, testosterone, developing in their bodies, all this stuff going on, and they need to process, vent. I think there's a side that they just have no idea what's going on. There's all these feelings inside that are strong feelings. He acts like an arsehole, she acts like a bitch, whatever. They're intense. And parents often are reactive. It's like, whoa, what the frick happened to my little baby? Who the frick are you talking to me like this? What are you doing? Who are you? And then when they kind of turn around 18, that's just a whole nother level. But they're doing what they're meant to do. Their emotions are stronger. How they see themselves is different. And they're wanting to explore that. And we've got to give them space to do that. We've got to let them know it's okay. And we need to teach them emotional intelligence. And the hard thing is we need to model that first. But so many of us find it hard to teach our children things because we're not modeling it. And I believe what gives me the right to tell one of my children to be emotionally responsible when I'm consistently emotionally irresponsible. The classic emotional spike, which is typically 90 seconds, I first need to learn to process that and allow it to take its course. And on the down spike, come to that place of rest and peace and then have a conversation. I heard once, you can't train in times of conflict. So, and emotions are high, don't try and train the child because the brain does not process. The brain does not receive. Everything's deflect, deflect, deflect. And defense mechanisms are just off the charts. And I adamantly believe children, teenagers, young adults are far more beautiful than people my age bracket. Deep down, we're the same. But the thing is, at my age, we've carried our trauma, our wounds, our baggage a lot longer. And that becomes a blockage to our beauty sitting on that surface. And that's what I see in young people. They've got wounds, but it hasn't had decades to dirty the beauty and cover up the beauty. The beauty is still sitting close to the surface, which is why I believe they're still quite reactive. They're still volatile because those negative emotions and positive emotions are still teetering around the surface. But as time goes by, they protect and guard that fragile part. And it's that fragility is where the beauty is. And as parents, we have a responsibility to see that beauty and speak into that beauty and come back to that beauty. But as parents, we have freedom as well to make mistakes, to screw up. And we're going to do that all the time. But we've got to come back to the child and say, I'm sorry, I crossed that line. I made it about me when I should have made it about you. And when we carry our wounds for so long, for decades, we crave any moment of making it about us. And it's tough because with children, it's always about them. Like, I regularly have video calls with my kids. They don't ask me questions. For the conversation to flow, I have to keep asking them questions. And if I stop and give a bit of space, if they ask a question, it just gets weird because we just sit there in silence. We've got to start all over and recognize that the teenagers in our lives are the most beautiful people in our lives. They're the best teachers in our lives. And that great teachers, great leaders realize that the sign of a good teacher is they become a student. And I'm thankful today that I'm moving into a space where I see my children as teachers. They teach me about life. They may not speak to me like a teacher, but the way they think, feel, communicate, and make choices, there's something beautiful in that. And I used to have a lot more of that inside of me, and I don't want to lose that. And they're doing me a favor, reminding me of the beauty that's inside of me, that I don't want to lose that. That childlike, that inner child that just loves the adventure of life and pushes all the boundaries. And yesterday, that's what my son was doing. He was pushing the boundaries. And I think if we react to when they push the boundaries, it almost fuels them. If they don't get a reaction, it's kind of boring. People are fickle. People are simple. But we should never be blaming children, teenagers, for their actions. We need to recognize, however our children are, it's a byproduct of the environment we created. So if we blame them, we're actually blaming ourselves because they're just a mirror of how we've raised them. And I think that's a tough thing to face as a parent and to own that. And for me, it's a constant journey. I'm 51. My youngest is 2. My oldest is 22. I've got 10 girls, 3 boys. And I'm constantly learning. You know, my 16-year-old, she lives with me up here in Queensland. And I would say she's faultless. Sure, she doesn't clean up after herself. She leaves a mess in the kitchen. She doesn't really wash the dishes. And I occasionally think of asking her to do that. But I care more about my relationship with her, that heart-to-heart connection with her. And whether she cleans the house, does the dishes, pales in significance to our relationship and the beauty that she brings into this home. And I'm honoured and privileged to have her here, so I will clean her dishes. And people might say, so what does that teach her? It doesn't matter. She's 16. She's already beautiful. She's talented. She knows who she is. She has some brokenness. She has some wounds. But I can see her trajectory, where she's going, and it's good. And so I'm here to support that journey, not dictate to her how it should be. My days of doing that, they're over. I'm just there on that sideline to be her support, to be a helping hand, to pick her up when the shit hits the fan. But she's a great kid. You know, and I wish, you know, I certainly had that kind of posture when my older kids were around that age, because I made some epic mistakes with my older kids. You know, one of my kids, I think she's 20, she texted me about a month ago and she called me a shithead and a dickhead. Like, who does that? But that's a manifestation of the pain and bitterness she's carrying towards me because of what happened in the past. I don't blame her for that. But if she doesn't want a relationship with me, that's her choice. I'm not going to force it. I'm always going to keep my hand out. And if she needs something, try and be there for her. But she owns that bitterness. That's inside her. It's not in me. It's her choice to carry it or grow through it. It's hard being a parent, really hard. And I believe most of the teaching training programs out there, they're all wrong. They're too busy telling us what to do. They're too busy coming up with systems and processes. The Breakthrough Collective is not about telling us what we should and shouldn't do. The foundation of it is giving us an awareness of the power we have inside of us, the beauty we have inside of us, the love that we have inside of us, that is the superpower we have to overcome those difficult situations, to rise up, to be strong, to be a warrior, to be a conqueror of those situations and stand firm, stand in peace, still feeling sometimes like crap and negative emotions and triggers, but holding our tongue, allowing it to pass, knowing in our wisdom that it's better to speak when we're at peace, when we're at rest, and that we have something great inside of us to offer each person in our life. And there's not many people that are ready to receive that. But we need an environment, a community that supports us in making our choices for us, because we are unique and similar to nobody except the core. I believe all of us, our core engine is the same. It's that powerhouse that's inside of us that's being crushed, covered, hidden from those wounds of the past. And psychologists and counselors and life coaches and social media is about giving you a toolkit to heal. I don't believe in that. Can we stop focusing on the healing and the trauma? Can we focus on the greatness, the beauty? And at the Breakthrough Collective, we're about showing people their unique beauty that's unique to them and saying, hey, what do you think of this? And if we're authentic in how we do that, it will resonate with them and they'll be like, yeah, I've had glimpses of that, but I want to explore that more. And it's amazing when you see how big and how powerful your beauty is. Two things happen. One, you can look at your trauma and it's so much smaller than you thought it was. And two, it actually gives you the eyes to see beauty in other people. But how can you see beauty in others if you can't see it in yourself? And that's what we want to do at TBC, is be a catalyst for people to see how freaking amazing they are, how huge their potential is with just a few key shifts of their focus without any do's or don'ts, shoulds and shouldn'ts, with no agenda, but one they create themselves that is tailor-made by them for them. We know how to ask the right questions. We know how to see people for who they truly are. And our trauma is a byproduct of unfortunate circumstances in our past, but it is not who we are. But it can very easily become a catalyst for greatness. But if we keep denying our pain, our greatness will never come out. And we'll just go with the flow and blend into the status quo and become like everyone else and never stand out. I don't know. Every time I communicate this, it seems to come out differently, but it's not an easy thing to put into a language where people can understand. Come along to one of our social meetings in person. It's a very different dynamic. It's where we engage emotionally with each other and we get to see each other for who we truly are, and we celebrate that, we embrace that, and we get excited together about, wow, Look what's possible. This is cool. Hey, send us a DM. Give us some feedback. Help us navigate connecting with you based upon where you're at.